And really in that moment where I decided I needed to do something for myself, that I remember thinking, what profession or what can I do that will allow me to own my own business at some point? And somehow I landed on lawyer. It's not, I definitely never, or I didn't always envision being a lawyer. It wasn't my dream since I was a little kid or anything. I took one estate planning course in undergrad that really resonated with me and I really enjoyed it. And so that part of undergrad made me interested in some aspects of being a lawyer. But it was really just kind of thinking, what profession could I be in where I could make a profit, hopefully make a profit and be in business for myself. And, sounds good.
Three, two, one. Hey, you're watching Dustin Sanchez TV.com. I'm a lawyer marketing expert. And today is a very special day because something everyone in my Help 1000 Lawyers Facebook group has been waiting for, something I've been waiting for 3+ years now. We are interviewing the world famous attorney, Aiden Durham. She's a business and branding attorney out of Colorado. We'll let her talk about where she's from later, but she runs the YouTube channel All Up in Your Business, and I love watching it. Aiden, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Dustin. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. I appreciate all the kind words. I don't know if I'd say world famous, but
Okay.
still, I'll take it, I guess.
Certainly the lawyer marketing world,
All right. Yeah, that part's okay.
Okay, Aiden, well, tell us a little bit about what you do as far as being an attorney.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I'm a business and branding attorney. Basically, what that means is I deal with business law and intellectual property law. I focus on working with small business and solo business owners, and I do a wide variety of things from like entity formation and things related to contracts, drafting and negotiation, and a lot of intellectual property like trademark and copyright registration too.
Okay, so a little, would you say business transactional / intellectual property?
Yep, exactly. Exactly. The big thing that I don't do is litigation. I don't do a whole lot of adversarial work. I don't go to court at all. The closest I get to litigation is trademark, kind of adversarial work.
Okay, could you expand on this term, branding attorney?
So basically, what that means is I help you with things that have to do with your brand, whether that is trademarks, which represent your brand, or even things having to do with social media and websites, because that all goes into branding as well. So legal issues related to websites, like dealing with privacy policies, terms and conditions, contracts for your website, and then I'll cancel or counsel clients on how to safely use social media, whether it's making sure we're not using images without a license,
Okay.
or working with influencers and using proper disclosures. So anything related to kind of your business's branding and marketing and getting yourself out there to the public.
Okay, nice. You're kind of thinking about things that I would say today's business world, digital influencers. What business? We never even heard the word influencer in law school. And now that's something that definitely a need for protecting those kind of businesses.
Absolutely.
Could you give us your backstory? Where did you go to law school? Where did you end up working, practicing? How did you get to where you are now?
Sure. So I started law school in 2010 at the University of Idaho in
Okay.
northern Idaho, Montana. It's a tiny little college town I had never heard of before I went there. But my undergrad grades weren't spectacular, so that
Okay.
was the best school that I could get into at the time. But and I really enjoyed it actually. Idaho's a great law school. But so I did my first year there and then transferred to University of Denver for my second and third year, and then
Wow.
graduated from the University of Denver. I had a slightly different career path than a lot of law students do. I interned with a solo attorney in Denver for my third year of law school, and I was given the impression that he was going to hire me after I took the
Mm,
bar exam and everything. And so I kind of relied on that assurance and didn't apply for a whole lot of other positions or anything. So, and then I passed the bar, and it just turned out that he didn't really have enough work to justify hiring me. So I was kind of in this weird spot of not having a real job and not really having any good, things on the horizon. So I decided to just start my own solo practice right out of law school, which doesn't happen very often. And I wanted to go that route eventually. That was always kind of my plan. I didn't plan on
okay.
doing it right away, but it just so happened that way. And it turns out it was for the best, because I'm 7 years in now and still going. So it worked
Okay.
out. Yeah. And in my line of work now, it's given me, I was in the position that all of my clients are in or were in at one point, of starting a business, knowing very little about running a business. I had the legal background to an extent, but I didn't know about what actually goes into starting and owning and running a business. So that
Yeah.
experience, I think, really contributes to what I can provide for clients now.
Okay. Well, that's very peculiar because attorneys, people who go to law school, I don't, no one that I went to law school other than me would I say this person's an entrepreneur. We kind of have a career path. Either we have some kind of sociology degree undergrad and we don't know how to make money, so we go to law school, or we've been thinking to go to law school our whole life, but none of us are thinking we're going to law school to start a business. So, what was that? What in your background, when you had the guy in 2013 or so, when you graduated, he didn't have enough work for you, and something in your background said, I'm going to start my own business. Like, how did that happen? That's peculiar.
Well, that was it came from years of figuring out that I don't like having a boss or being told what to do, or like having to justify my actions. So after my undergrad degree was in finance, and I worked kind of in accounting for a couple of years after I graduated undergrad before going to law school. And there was one situation where I got written up by my supervisor because I did something differently than how she would have liked me to. Even though it was still correct, it was still different than how she wanted to. And
Kate
that,
receives this video.
exactly. And so that was like, okay, I don't like having to do this. Like, I know I did the right thing, but I'm having to explain myself now, and I don't like this. So that was kind of my first feeling of, I need to be in a position where I'm in control of when and how I work and the type of work that I do. And so that really, I think,
Right.
started to spark that entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay. Because I work with so many attorneys, and I feel like there are some attorneys who just get it. And the vast majority of attorneys don't understand this concept, which you can tell me what you think about it. But I tell them, like the other day, I had to answer an email, and the attorney was saying, how do I spend 3,000 a month on marketing? And I'm like, well, it's a cost of doing business. And I think I tell these attorneys, you thought you were an attorney, you thought you were a lawyer at law school. They told us we were lawyers. What we didn't realize was that we were business owners, that a law degree was nothing more than permission to open a business called a law firm. And
Mhm.
so when you were describing your background, you didn't say I was going to open a law firm. You said I was going to open my own business. You called it a business. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And really, in that moment where I decided I needed to do something for myself, that I remember thinking, what profession or what can I do that will allow me to own my own business at some point? And somehow I landed on lawyer. It's not, I definitely never, or I didn't always envision being a lawyer. It wasn't my dream since I was a little kid or anything. I took one estate planning course in undergrad that really resonated with me and I really enjoyed it. And so that part of undergrad made me interested in some aspects of being a lawyer. But it was really just kind of thinking, what profession could I be in where I could make a profit, hopefully make a profit and be in business for myself and, have something good to work with.
Okay. Law school is such a funny thing because if you're in medical school and you kind of survey the class, hey, what do you want to do when you graduate? Everyone there is going to say, I want to be a doctor. I was in this class called Attorney Communications. It was kind of known as an easy A. And every day you had to get up and talk. And every day there was a new topic. And this one day the topic was, what do you want to do when you graduate? And like one person out of 12 said they wanted to be an attorney. I'm like, what are we all doing here?
Right? What's the point? What am I spending all this money for? And it's so true. Like very little of my work now is actual lawyer work. I'm at the point where I can luckily delegate a lot of the substantive legal work out. And so I do. And so the actual legal work that I do now hands on is pretty limited. Most of it is the running a business part.
Okay, yeah. That reminds me of this saying when I practiced oil and gas, sometimes they would bring in a really difficult title opinion for me. And I'd tell my boss, like, yeah, you're gonna have to get a lawyer for this one, man.
Right?
It's funny. Okay, so you decided I'm gonna start my own business. And in business, there's all kinds of things to think about, especially the lawyer business, other than practicing law. There's how do I meet payroll? There's what about taxes? There's paying rent. There's marketing. How do I get clients? Okay, so in the lawyer realm, there's all kinds of ways you could have chosen to get clients. Maybe you could have hired Scorpion, or you could have bought leads from Fine Law, or you could have made a billboard in your city. But for some reason, you turned to YouTube videos. I'm looking at your YouTube channel right now on my other screen. Maybe I can bring it in. But you chose YouTube, and I want to know why. Like, why did you go YouTube versus hiring someone like me to do your marketing?
Well, I mean, a big reason was because YouTube is free. I didn't have a whole lot of money to start with and to pay for marketing or advertising or anything like that. But I had a laptop with a webcam on it, and I could do all of that for free. So that was a big portion of why I was going the YouTube route, is just, budget wise. When I started my practice, I was married at the time. I since got divorced, but when I started, I was still married, and so I had my husband's income to somewhat rely on. So I wasn't in the situation where I had to immediately make money, otherwise I wouldn't be able to eat. I had a little bit to fall back on, but certainly was still bootstrapping a lot of it. So my tactic in the beginning was to get on every free legal directory I could find online.
Sure.
And networking obviously was a big part of it, but then just as far as what else can I do to get out there and be in front of people, YouTube seemed like a good idea, and it was free.
Wow. Well, you said two things that kind of stood out to me. The first thing you said that was odd is that you had the money, you had income. And a lot of times that's a huge disadvantage for lawyers because it prevents them from taking control of their own marketing. It prevents them from turning to YouTube because they're like, hey, I got money, let me buy something. But you didn't. You went to some of the free routes, which is interesting. Secondly, what you said was this, and I hope everyone listens. You said, I had a laptop with a webcam. Like that was your marketing plan, a laptop you already had and the webcam that came with it. And does this work? I'm looking, you have 86,400 subscribers on YouTube, give or take. And I would imagine you have at least 300 videos. Does this work?
Not that much, like maybe like 150 120, I think. Something
120. Okay.
yeah. But it's I think it works. It works very well for me. At this point, and really for the last maybe 4 or 5 years of my business, YouTube has been my primary source of clients. I'd say
Wow.
80 to 90% of my clients find me through YouTube one way or the other. It may not necessarily be on the YouTube platform, but they'll see my videos shared on Facebook or, Instagram or something. And, so some way YouTube is a huge factor.
YouTube has been 80 to 90% of your clients in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a huge statement that I don't want to gloss over. Um, in Texas, lawyer marketing is very old fashioned, and that's where I am right now. I'm licensed in Texas. And a lot of times when I talk about online marketing, there are some more traditional people that are like, all you need is a business card and your own 2 feet. And, they're talking about networking. And initially, I had tried networking with this group, BNI, Business Networkers International. And every Wednesday, I'd go talk to 8 other people who had no marketing budget. Most of them were only there because their boss gives them an hour off if they do some networking.
Hmm.
And, so once a week, I talked to 8 people. Yesterday, I got on Facebook Live with Angela Langlots, and 400 people have seen that video from my own house. Video is networking. This is networking.
Hmm.
I'm looking at your YouTube channel. You have something that I call frequency of publish. 511 views published one day ago. 1,000 views published last week. 726 published 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. The reason I found you, because I think I had searched how to start a business once, and you had just this 6-figure view video I can't find right now because you keep publishing and it fills your thing. But when I would use that video in my sales presentation to when I tried to sign other attorneys, and I would say, do 90,000 people even know you're an attorney? Because they just watched this how to form an LLC video. Do you think any of them called her? It's federal law in some cases. I
Yeah.
use you to explain how powerful YouTube is all the time.
Yeah, really, and it is marketing or networking. That's exactly how I look at it because it's me getting up in front of a group of people and talking about what I do or what I know about, which is really similar to what you do in a lot of networking groups. And I tried the BNI thing too. Just like with work, I don't like being told what to do. And a lot of those networking groups have a lot of rules, and
Yes.
you have to be here every week. You have to bring a certain amount of leads, and that stuff doesn't jive with me. And I'm also super introverted. I don't like being in a big group of people. But with YouTube, I can be by myself. I have nobody around, but I put something out, and somehow, a few hundred or 100,000 people end up hearing me, and that's a much bigger number than I would ever reach just in traditional networking. And it's all people who are intentionally trying to find the thing that I'm talking about versus a group where everyone else is really just trying to sell their own things, and maybe someone will be interested in what you're selling.
Wow, that was so important what you just said. When someone views your video on YouTube, they went to the YouTube search engine and they searched for how to trademark a name and a logo because they're looking to hire someone who knows how to do that. And then they find your video. There is intent and commerciality behind that search. When you're sitting at a bar that you just drove through rush hour traffic to get to, and you're trading note cards, you're trading business cards with a real estate agent, there's no commerciality there. There's no intent. Uh,
Exactly. That's
uh,
right. Yeah.
and
And I
so,
mean, it's a search engine owned by Google. And so just like, when you talk about paid ads on Google or being on Google listings, if you want to be on that search engine, I see it makes perfect sense to be on this other search engine that a huge percentage of the population uses.
yeah. Uh, so funny that you mentioned you're an introvert. because I am too. Just this, after this call, I'm going to have to detox, like de-stress, maybe take a nap.
Oh yeah. This is the only thing I've got planned today.
Right. And in law school, or even as a 3L, when I had to go talk to the judge, I would put on my lawyer voice and according to rule, blah, blah, blah. And everyone would realize, like, who the hell is this person? Like, this is not Dustin. And these dang little laptop cameras free us. Like, I'm myself now, and on your YouTube channel, you don't get on the video and try to sound all professional. You're extremely playful and you can tell your personality. Why did you do that versus try to make a television commercial stuffy lawyer act?
Well, I knew I didn't want to be a stuffy lawyer. I knew I didn't want to have that kind of vibe. I didn't want my clients to look at me really as like a lawyer. I wanted to feel like they're on the same plane as me.
Yeah.
And so that the lawyer that I worked with my third year in law school, there was a situation where we had a client come in and her parents, but she was a young woman in her 20s. Both of her parents had recently died. And she was coming in to talk about probate and that whole process. And the lawyer that I was working for kept talking about probate and letters testamentary and all these words, and she looked at me and she's like, what does this mean? She's like, what's probate? And she had no idea. Both of her parents had just died. She was completely in over her head, and this guy was saying all these things that she had no idea, no real way of understanding. And so that moment kind of made me realize this is not how I want to be. I want to make sure my clients know what I'm talking about, know what we're dealing with, and I want them to feel comfortable talking to me too. And so that's what I felt like video was a really good use for, was putting across that idea and my personality, that I'm not going to be, wearing a suit. I wore a suit in my very first video that I put out. And
Check it out.
I don't think I've worn that suit since then, actually. But yeah, and then the other idea was, YouTube is geared towards a younger demographic. And I thought about me, if I was looking to work with a professional, who would I feel comfortable with? And if it's someone I can relate with, or that I, have similar, a similar personality or something, that would make me feel more comfortable. So that's kind of what I go with in trying to put out there.
Okay, you make some good points, because video does turn you into a person versus an entity, some kind of corporate entity. And I always believe people do business with people.
Right.
So in my videos, my main thing is like, make the viewer feel comfortable, make them think I'm a person. Even if they hate me, like, I want them to think I'm a person they would hate.
Right.
And people tell me that all the time. Like, I chose you because you're just so personal, or we have the same personality. And I'm like, well, maybe you have the same personality as my video persona.
Right. You probably wouldn't like me if you really.
Yeah. Who the real Dustin is anymore.
Right. Yeah. And that's, it helps. Exactly. It helps people get to know me before they've even met me or had a single conversation. Like, I can make a lot of videos talking about what I do and what a good lawyer I am and how I'll do a good job for you, but that sounds like all the other lawyer commercials that we see. It's nothing. It's not, people aren't hiring me specifically because I have so much trademark experience. They're hiring me because I talk like I know what I'm talking about, and they like my personality and they think they'll like working with me.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I specifically remember a phone call I had with one of my clients, and they had hired a $10,000 video marketing agency. And that agency produced one like showpiece video and then 9 other videos. But I had vehemently begged this guy, do not hire these people. And so I remember they showed me this awesome showpiece video, and it has like the owner and the partners walking with their suit and tie into the courtroom, and then there's an overhead shot from a drone, spinning around. And I'm
Mhm.
like, and I literally opened up your YouTube channel. I'm like, look at this, 67,000 views. She's sitting in her room talking to her desktop camera. There's no drone footage. You got 5 views on this, and it's probably you, the 3 partners, and me.
Right? Exactly. And when you're thinking, I mean, I understand the idea behind a video of that nature, just, for your website, like a pretty video to put on your homepage. But marketing wise, and especially on YouTube, that's not going to do you any good. No one's searching YouTube for your firm name. Like that doesn't allow you to work in keywords or tags or anything that would might find make your video findable or make
Yeah,
people interested in finding it.
true. I think also just what no lawyer believes that they know marketing. Like this person's charging me 10 grand, so they must know video marketing. Um, I don't I don't know how you feel about Ayn Rand, but she's an author that causes a lot of controversy. But we had to read her in high school, and I remember this one quote, and it's like, "Why is everyone right so long as it's not you?" Nobody wants to think that they know something, and it's like, man, if you just tried it, if you just stuck with video marketing, I think you would do much better than these companies that are charging you so much money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think so too. And that's a big part of it is sticking with it. Um, YouTube, YouTube didn't take off for me for a while. I made a lot of videos and that got, 10 views here and there. And then I just made one, which apparently the subject and the title and everything was what people are interested in. And that one video took off.
boom.
And then that kind of just started it. And through that experience of not having a lot of views, having a lot of views, not having views, that lets me also figure out what topics people are really interested in and the ones that they don't really care about. And so, with all of this, there's a lot of trial and error. And so it is a process for most people, unless you go viral right off the bat. But it takes time to really see the payoff, but it's time and a little bit of money
Yeah.
versus time and a lot of money, and you still may not see any.
Yeah, a lot of these marketing companies, they're you spending that money and you're getting no return on your investment.
Hmm.
Um, and then I tell people that too. Like, this one on your video YouTube channel says avoiding the risks of a single member LLC, and it has 168,000 views on it. Uh, like you said, your first video didn't get that many views, but you just kept publishing, publishing, publishing. And over time, that's the learning process. Your first court case, you probably weren't very good at,
Yeah.
but eventually you learn.
Yeah, exactly, like anything else, you get better with it over time. You improve your equipment. I'm not just filming on my laptop webcam anymore. It's gotten better over time, but it's always still a process. And now, I mean, YouTube it's a marketing source, but it's also its own revenue stream for me
Yeah.
too, because I have
Yeah.
monetization on the videos. And so that in itself, not only is it free, but I'm making money off of it now too. I'm being paid to do my own marketing.
Yeah. So it's like, imagine if your SEO guy paid you so much every month.
Exactly.
Well, what about other social media platforms? You said you moved a little bit out to Facebook. What else are you doing not on YouTube?
So my favorite platforms right now are Instagram and Twitter. As far as like my business and marketing, I focus more on Instagram.
Okay.
I do post on Facebook. I personally don't like Facebook as a social platform very much, and I don't see a whole lot of engagement. I don't get a whole lot of clients from Facebook. So my efforts are kind of low there. But I do try to post regularly on Instagram because I see some good feedback there. And then Twitter, I just love. I don't really use Twitter for marketing. I've connected a lot more with other lawyers on Twitter,
Oh,
and that's been really good for networking. To an extent, has been Twitter, but also I think Twitter is just a lot of fun. People put out crazy stuff on Twitter.
okay, that's interesting because I'm connecting with attorneys on LinkedIn, but you're going the Twitter route. This could be an untapped market. What are you doing to connect with attorneys on Twitter?
Well, so you can search the hashtag law Twitter. That's a good place to start. Um, and but or one of my favorite accounts is Bad Legal Takes, where they just retweet tweets from other people who have terrible legal opinions or grossly misstate the law. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then if you find like through that law Twitter hashtag, you can find some of the active people who post regularly on related things. I'm connected to a lot of IP lawyers there, and so I'll comment. They'll post interesting trademark registrations, and we'll comment on those things. Uh, LinkedIn, I've never I know there is value in LinkedIn. It's never clicked with me. I've never figured it out. It just hasn't been my thing. But I certainly recognize that that's a good platform for a lot of people.
Okay, well, let's stay on Twitter because if I tell the average lawyer, hey, start using Twitter for marketing or networking, what they're going to do, they're going to get on Twitter and post a link to their latest Should You Hire a Divorce Lawyer blog. So obviously that doesn't work. What would you tell an attorney who wants to reproduce whatever value you're getting out of Twitter? Like, how do you use Twitter for connections or networking?
So a good way of kind of starting is just like retweeting other tweets. If you find, another lawyer account and they put out a tweet about something that resonates with you, retweet it and comment on it. Put your own comment to it and retweet it, share it with your followers or your soon to be followers. Or even if you have a blog on your website, posting your blog link with a comment. It's adding something. I think aside from just here's a link to my blog post, you have to add something to it. But I've found I use Twitter in a much more personal way. Like I post stuff on Twitter that I would never post on Facebook or anything else. Just much more personal or cynical points of view or something like that. And so those things are good ways of getting interaction from other people on Twitter too, or just responding, even getting in the comments of someone else's tweet is
Okay.
a really good way to start interacting and building connections with other people there.
Now, are you also messaging those people? Is there any conversation inside of a DM going on, or is it all in the comment section?
There's a little bit, but most of it's in the comment section. But a handful of the lawyers that I've met through Twitter I've done, I've ended up doing actual work with them, hiring them to help me with something, or it's caused me to be invited to do, workshops or conferences, things like that. So it has turned into a lot of real working relationships outside of Twitter.
Okay, then this is where things are getting interesting then, because I always think that's the goal to take something in the virtual world and turn it into something in the real world. For me, it's dollars. Take your virtual attention and turn it into dollars. For an attorney, it would be meeting someone on Twitter and turning that person into an actual friend in the real world. Can you describe that process? Like maybe a case study of how that happened, how you turned it into business or something.
Well, one of my best Twitter friends is Steven Stanwood, and he is another IP attorney. He works with other lawyers with like office action responses and stuff.
Okay.
And I connected with him randomly somehow on Twitter, but he makes video content also, but it's specifically on Twitter. He does these little short 2-minute videos talking about like an interesting trademark registration or something. And so I think one day I saw one of his videos and either commented on it because it was really funny or interesting, or I retweeted it. And in all of his videos, he has this uh, pillow of a cat sitting on the couch behind him. And I love animals. I have my dog in my YouTube videos often. I post pictures of my dog and cat on Instagram. So anytime I see a cat in anything, I'm going to comment on it. So that, I think, just instantly, I was like, you like trademarks and you like cats, we'll be friends. And it just bloomed from there.
Did we just become best friends?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
Okay. That's I'm gonna have to. I have avoided Twitter thus far. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I
Wow.
think, there's some hidden gems in there. Um, but you'd also, you don't, I have a lot of fun with it, just kind of being a Twitter lurker. Like I'll go days and days without posting or commenting on anything, but I'll just like a lot of stuff. And it's a fun way to pass time too.
Okay. Yeah, my mode of operation is that I've never been really good at anything. So I always look for where there's low competition and go hack my way through. For me, that was LinkedIn and video, as opposed, when I first started, I wasn't very good at search engine optimization. So I just turned to video instead.
Yeah.
And so maybe I would look at Twitter.
I think that's an important aspect of it too, is what platforms or what situations are you good at and do you enjoy, and what else isn't flooded with other similar businesses. Because I know like TikTok is huge right now, and I'm connected with a lot of other IP lawyers who have started channels on TikTok, and they're using it in the same kind of way as I'm using YouTube, and it's working well for them. And so I've had people ask me, well, why don't you, repurpose your YouTube stuff for TikTok? Or why don't you use this same kind of idea on TikTok? And I'm like, well, I like watching TikTok, but I don't, the making video part of TikTok isn't great for me. I don't think I would be that great at it. So, focus on what I'm good at and what I like doing, which is YouTube. And, I don't have to be on all of the social media platforms. It's not going to be better just because I'm everywhere if I'm not doing anything good on any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people, get a foothold somewhere first and concentrate all your efforts there. Then once you get good at that medium, you can move up elsewhere. TikTok, for me, it's just not my personality. And when it first started, it was only 15-second clips. And I'm like, this is a lot of production work for 15 seconds to be interesting. But I haven't ruled it out. You never know. There's a couple people I think that are doing well on there. Most of the people that I notice are doing is they're making videos on TikTok and they're sharing those TikToks to LinkedIn and Instagram. That's the main place to make the video.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, still kind of goes to show you that maybe Instagram and or LinkedIn are the better places.
Yeah.
To focus. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move to, I have a question and answer session, and these come from my Help 1000 Lawyers Facebook group. This one's from Rob. He's actually deployed right now. He's in the Army Reserve. So Robert, if you're watching this, we're asking your question, brother. How do you come up with video topics? He's looking at your topics here, and they're very varied. Piercing the corporate veil, estate planning for same-sex and unmarried couples, a simple Colorado will. How do you come up with topics for your videos?
So in the beginning, I started just talking about common questions that I would get, or conversations that I would have with clients over and over and over again. If I have the same topic conversation during a consultation every time, then that tells me this is something that everybody has a question about, or that everybody is interested in. So that's mostly what I go off of, is like, what are my clients or consultations, what things are coming up often from them.
Okay.
But then I also pay attention to the comments on the YouTube videos. I get requests for certain topics, or people would just ask questions, and I can't answer everyone's question specifically in the comments. So if it's a good topic that I think I can run with, then I'll make something off of that. But what I tell to lawyers and stuff who are trying to get into this is focus on the things that you talk to your clients the most about, the topics or questions that come up most often, and then break them down into as small of bits as you can, because that will, I think I did a 10-part video series once on how to start a business, and I divided up into 10 steps, and I made a video for each step. So each video was only a few minutes long, but it gave me 10 weeks of content to put out.
Okay.
And then from that, I got questions on more of the specific items, and then I could take those and potentially make that into new content too.
Okay. Well, you're the second video person that has said that. I had Jerry Oginski on, and he was saying, write down a case from start to beginning and make a topic off of everything on that case. And
Yeah.
it seems so obvious that we shouldn't
Right?
even ask that question. What about video length? Is that even important? And how long do you make your videos?
Well, so as far as YouTube goes, they have a restriction. You have to have, I think it's 100 subscribers in order to put out videos that are longer than a certain length.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the number is off the top of my head, but so there is that kind of limit set in YouTube. My understanding as far as SEO goes and what YouTube likes to see, and what like the analytics, what videos perform well, I believe it's in the like 10 to 15 minute range, or 12 to 15 minutes, I think.
Okay.
I believe on average, videos within that range perform best, just kind of on YouTube as a whole, and
Okay.
YouTube recognizes them better. So I try to stick around 10 minutes, because that's usually long enough that I can talk about whatever I need to talk about. But it's not so long that people will get burnt out, because I can also see in my video analytics where viewer numbers start to drop off, and how the average attention span, I guess, of my viewers or my subscribers. So I try to pay attention to that too.
Okay.
But I don't think there has to be a specific, there's no specific rule about video length. If you've got a really fire topic that takes you 3 minutes to talk about, then that video is probably going to get a lot of attention, and it's probably going to do really well, even if it's super short. But I've personally watched videos on YouTube that are a half an hour long, and I'll sit there and watch them and not think anything of it. So the long content can definitely perform well too. I think it's the topic and what it is much more important than how long it is.
Okay. Interesting you say that, because for me, YouTube has really replaced television. Like, I'll watch documentaries on YouTube all day.
Yeah.
And they're hours long, it's an hour long.
Right. And
So,
I think people have come to expect long content from YouTube, because I think a lot of us are doing that. It's kind of a TV replacement now. So no one's going to see a YouTube video that's an hour long and think it's,
yeah. I always tell my clients, ask me that same question. Well, how long? And I say, well, it depends on where you're going to post it. Is it on Instagram? Maybe 60 seconds. Is it on Facebook? Under 2 minutes. On YouTube, long as you want.
Yeah. As long as it takes, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay. Well, before we close out, can we say a little bit about your process? You have so many videos. I'm wondering, are you batch recording them? Are you just sitting down when the mood strikes you? Do you have a schedule? How does that go?
So I have a schedule. I film every Monday, or at least I try to film it every Monday. In a few years ago, there was a while where I was batch recording.
Okay.
I would plan them all out, and then I would record like 4 or 5 or 6 videos all at once. But the I kind of got burnt out doing that because it would be an entire day or couple of days that I would dedicate to it, and it would just get kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
Uh, and so now, I mean, my process probably isn't the best. I don't have really a content schedule or calendar. I think about it on Sunday, what I want to talk about, and then Monday morning I plan it out and,
Okay.
and start writing it out. Ideally, I would have a better way of going about it. I think I'm not being the most efficient with it. But the one part that is better, kind of doing it on the fly versus batching all the content, is that it lets me make if like an interesting news
Yeah.
story comes up, I can address it right away rather than having to push out all the other stuff that I scheduled, or put out this video a month later when it's no longer relevant.
Right.
I think just this past Monday, I got an email from someone in the morning. Oh, I got an email from someone asking how do they change their business name, and that's a video I've actually already made. I've already made a video about that like 5 years ago, but I keep getting the question, and someone else asked it on Monday. So I was like, okay, people are still wondering this. I'll talk about it again. I can present it the same information in a different way 5 years later. And so I'll just do it again.
Oh man, you keep bringing up good stuff. Okay, this would help my attorneys. So someone emails you, how do I form an LLC or how do I change a business name? You have that video. Is there a method you find that works for turning that emailed question into dollars for your firm? Like, I imagine you send them a link to the video and say something like, if you have questions, like, how do you turn an email inquiry like that into dollars? Or do you?
Yeah, exactly what you said. I'll say, well, because usually they'll recognize, or they come from me already having seen one of the other videos. So they'll say, I found your channel, blah, blah, blah. I have a question for you. And so they're already familiar with it. So I can say, actually, I already have a video on it, and I'll give the link, and I can say, if you have any more questions, if you want to talk about it further, go ahead and schedule a consultation. And so even the people who email me inquiries or questions and they haven't already seen some of my videos, if I give them a link to it, now they have this whole library of stuff from me, which gets them exposure to seeing my personality if they haven't already, and it will hopefully mean that they start seeing my face
Yeah.
over and over and over again on their YouTube feed or something. So even just sending them that link and they click to it, that helps. Google and YouTube are going to start putting me in front of that person more than
Yes.
they would have anyway.
Maybe retargeting them. And I imagine it makes the sales process easier for you. Uh,
Right.
you already positioned yourself as the expert. Okay, I want to go back. You said you try to schedule a consult. Now, is that a paid consultation or you just want to get them on the phone so you can start selling them? Or what do you mean when you say consult?
So I mean paid consultation.
Okay.
I don't do free consultations anymore. I did before, and I've gone back and forth in doing them. But because so initially when I was offering free consultations, my idea of the consultation is, let's discuss your issue, make sure it's something I can help you with, make sure we like each other and we'll work well together, and then talk about my fees and all of that.
Okay.
But I found that the client's idea of a consultation in a lot of situations is, how many questions can I fit in this 15 minutes
Yeah.
or whatever that is. And now that most people already kind of know me before they talk to me, there isn't as much of a need to get to know each other and make sure we vibe well, because they at least already know that they like me. I still have to decide if I like them, but at least they know that they like me. And so it kind of skips that part and allows us to get more to the meat of their legal issue. And so by charging, I feel more comfortable answering their legal questions to an extent versus like, well, okay, this person just, wanted free legal advice and I wasted 15 minutes and I'm never going to hear from them again.
Okay, I have to dissect this because I feel like I'd be cheating viewers if I didn't, because this is a point of conflict for a lot of attorneys because nobody wants to offer free consultations. And the attorneys that are always like trying to switch to paid consultations, they can barely keep their lights on, can't pay the mortgage. They have no content on the internet positioning them as an expert, and you're trying to charge people money to talk to you. I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe this field YouTube channel with tons of videos, you're all over the internet, allows you to easily tell someone, you want to talk to me, it's going to cost you money. One, because you have enough clients in your pipeline to lose people that don't want to pay. But two, you're positioned as an expert. You've demonstrated expertise, and now you can charge people just to get you on the phone. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's 100% accurate. It's and I can also be like, well, you have all these questions. Here's 100 videos. One of them probably addresses your question, and then it also gives me a little bit of something to say back when people are like, oh, you charge for like 10 minutes of your time. I'm like, well, sorry about all the other free advice I've already put out there. Sorry, I'm not going to give you 15 minutes more free. But yeah, exactly. By the time they contact me, most of them already know that they want to work with me. So it's just a matter in the consultation of figuring out the specifics of what we're doing versus, I don't like the idea of charging someone just to see if they like me. That doesn't feel right. But charging them for, some legal information, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that much of the legal community doesn't realize how important what you just said is. By the time they get to me, they already have decided they want to do business with me. It's not the reason that is because of all your content on YouTube. They know your personality, they know. And so people are like, does YouTube work? And I'm always thinking like, what do you mean work? I charge people $400 to get me on the phone for 30 minutes. That's because of YouTube, and they pay it because they already have decided they want to work with me by the time they get to that consult. And exactly. I just want people that heard you say that, rewind and watch it again, because I don't think people realize what a gem that was you just dropped. And then go look at all the videos on your YouTube channel and start putting two and two together. And you wouldn't have to hire people like me to make money.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You're going to put yourself out of a job, Dustin.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I hate to end this because I wrote down so much and I didn't get to hit most of it. But this has been just a great interview with you. I really appreciate you coming on. I know your time is valuable. I know how much an hour costs people when they have a YouTube channel like this. And I really want to thank you. Thank you for helping out my viewers. Is there any parting wisdom you want to drop on us?
Listen to Dustin. Start making videos. If you've been on the fence, just do it. Don't overthink it. Just record yourself talking about what you know to talk about and put it out there and see how it goes. Like the worst thing that can happen is no one watches it and you're in the same position that you're in now.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I want to give everyone a chance to go find you online. Where are the best places we could find you if we just want to learn about marketing that you do, or if we want to hire you for business and branding and IP work?
Sure. So my website is 180lawco.com, 180lawco.com, and you can find info about me and contact me there. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/allupinyobiz, YOBIZ. That's the handle on Twitter is _allupinyobiz. And then Instagram is @allupinyobusiness.
Okay, and I'm going to put all those on the screen in post-production. Thanks a lot, Aiden. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can work together again at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope to. Thank you, Dustin. I had a great time.
Okay, everybody, peace out.
Bye.